Welcome back. Week one of the Vuelta is done and dusted. We've got plenty of storylines that have come through from week one, let alone a Jumbo-Visma crash through to Ayuso breaking news, heading out of UAE very quickly here at the end of the season. Let's see what that does for the rest of his Vuelta. We've had Tom Pidcock being told to grow some balls, which is an interesting suggestion, given he was, he was riding pretty hard. We've also got a whole week of mountains and potential breakaways to come. So let's get stuck in. Quick week one recap. It is very clear Philipsen is the top guy, so I'm going to need to eat my hat. I thought Pedersen was going to be the sprinter. He is in the green jersey, but Philipsen has clearly got that top end speed. The somewhat surprise packet to me has been Vernon, and I believe at 12 stars, that's actually a pretty darn good pickup. So hat tip to any one of you that was able to get Vernon into your team for these sprint stages that have been taking place over the first week. Despite all of this, Pedersen is still in the green jersey, so he's currently sitting on 120 points. You got Vernon in at 111 and Philipsen on 105. And to my eye, there's maybe only one stage in this coming week that the sprinters may even get close to having a chance at. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about the makeup of your team for the week coming ahead. Across the first 9 stages, it's been a bit of up and down, to be fair. I think the clearest thing out of all of this is that Vingegaard is the strongest of the GC contenders. He has looked very good on any of the mountaintop finishes where he hasn't necessarily had to put big digs in or massive sprints to get away from the other GC contenders, but he has just shown that he is consistently stronger. The win on stage 2 to Limone Piemonte after a crash, and then even on stage 9, he said he felt super great, didn't realize that he was attacking from 10Ks to go, and still had all the bickies he needed to get the victory. There was the interesting dive bombing incident, according to Vingegaard, on stage 3 with Gaudu getting the victory. I know I was pretty bearish on Gaudu to start out in the fantasy perspective, but top marks to you guys that might have picked Gaudu for your team, given the victory in stage 3. I think a bit of a surprise winner on stage 4 with Ben Turner winning the sprint into Voiron. I think he even surprised himself. And then I know I had said that I was going to do an episode leading into stage 5, but I got to be completely honest with you. I had zero idea what was going on with the team time trial, and I hope you guys figured it out. If you did, please let me know in the comments, because there was barely any score to go around. I think individual time trials make sense in the Fantasy by Tissot platform because you are at least scoring one of the riders, whereas in the team time trial, I don't know. I think they've got to look at that and start to think about how you would actually score a team time trial. Maybe instead you need to pick a team for your road captain, or there was 100 points on offer if you could pick the times in the platform. But to me, it just didn't make sense. It didn't change much in the mix. You know, I think if you had picked the top team, you were getting 100 or so points if you had one of the riders. Anyway, no good for fantasy if you ask me. Hopefully they can figure that out over there at Fantasy by Tissot. Probably the biggest storyline from week one was UAE. Jay Vine ended up being the winner on stage 6, but stage 6 was also the stage that Ayuso dropped about 7 minutes and looked like he was utterly cooked. Turned out he wasn't, because he came back and won stage 7 in serious style with the quiet out the haters, don't point at the man in the arena celebration. And then we just find out overnight that he is out of UAE and potentially on his way to Lidl Trek. Let's see what happens there. He's still got until the end of the season. To mine, I would love to see him go to an Ineos or somewhere like a Movistar. I don't think he would fit in at a Lidl Trek, but who knows? Let's see what happens. Obviously a great rider and still young at 22, but got himself the win on stage 7. You had Jay Vine, the winner on stage 6. Another win by Philipsen on stage 8 into Zaragoza. Again, really close, pipped him all the way up to the line, but just looking like a guy with the best top-end speed. And then you had Vingegaard going away and getting himself that victory, not knowing that he was going with 10Ks to go on stage 9. And Pidcock, foxing, maybe? What? He said he wasn't. He said he was tired. He said that he couldn't pull with Almeida. Almeida said to him to grow some balls. I guess we're going to see. I was not bullish on Pidcock coming into this race. Maybe he's looking a little bit better than we think, and he actually was holding back a little bit, just holding off for time. But look, week 2 is going to be the real decider for a lot of these GC guys or those that think that they're a chance in the high mountains. So we will see the true colours of whether Peacock's got it in him to keep it going. Top storylines out of week 1 and for mine going into week 2. Some of the risers and fallers out of the first mountaintop finishes. As I said, Vingegaard is looking really good. Jay Vine got a victory and looks strong. Ayuso got his victory after losing a lot of time. Is he going to do much? Are UAE going to be willing to work for him or put him in any position to win another stage, given the news that has just come out? Let's see. Almeida looks strong. Armorai also looking fairly strong and having a bit of a dig. The other two, I would say, are Viveke and Fortunato. I think outside of that, Riccatello, Pelizzari also looking pretty good and on good form. I think Ciccone was looking great all the way through sort of the first week, but lost a bit of time in stage 9, and I'm just not quite sure what he's going to be able to do going through to the finish from here on out. Well, let's see. Torsten Trine is still in the red. It's going to be a question for how much longer. I just don't see him. It's been a bit of a surprise packet. I mean, would have been a great pickup had you had him in your team and in the red jersey all the way through, but I don't really see him doing a whole lot. And then otherwise, as I say, there's not really much going on in the sprint category. So I might be keeping Pedersen in the green jersey or even thinking about sort of swapping some of those sprint guys out for some greater chances on the climbs and breakaways going into week 2. Looking ahead to week 2 of the Vuelta, the real focus here is GC, climbers, and potentially breakaways. Stage 10 is an uphill finish. It's a category 1 climb. Stage 11, you got this real roly-poly kind of lumpy day, which to me is a breakaway day. I can't see why the GC guys would want to go for that, nor the sprinting teams wanting to control it. So I think there's something like 7 categorized climbs on stage 11. So I think you got to be thinking about breakaway guys for that stage. Stage 12, you got a Cat 2 and a Cat 1. Stage 13, we get our nice Especial mountaintop finish. Stage 14, a Cat 1 finish. And then stage 15, it starts on a Cat 1 climb. So it's just pure hurt locker, like the most intense leg pain you could ever feel. Lactic acid through the absolute roof and out the wazoo. So could some of your lighter sprinters have a crack, get in a breakaway, and then finish off with a sprint victory? Maybe. But I'd kind of look at it like stage 11, stage 15, most likely going to be breakaway victories. Could be the case on some of the mountaintop finishes as well. But that really does start to influence what you're going to do with your team. Because if all we've got next week and this week coming up are really climb-related potential victories, that has to factor into the way that you are figuring out your team makeup. So what we're going to do now is actually jump into the platform. Looking ahead to week 2, as I say, I think this is very much about GC guys, breakaways, and climbers. So I am going to go ahead and I'm actually going to drop Pedersen. I think there's a good chance that bringing him back in at some point will make sense. But at this stage, with the makeup of week 2, I just don't see much value keeping him in. The same person that I'm going to get rid of is Campenarts. I had hoped that Campenarts was going to be a breakaway chance. He still may be, but I am betting on Campenarts being really more of a protector for Vingegaard and maybe even the tractor to bring back the breakaway when required. So from a fantasy perspective, that's just not going to net me many points at all. Then the other one I'm going to get rid of in terms of the spring sale and clean out that we're going for here is Ricard. I had it wrong that I thought he was the second to last, but you got Plancart in the sprint finish, who was the second to last, so it would have been a better pickup than Ricard. He's sort of the third to last guy in the sprint train. But again, this week you got nothing really going on from a sprint perspective, so not much point keeping a guy like him. What that's going to do is actually open up 46 total stars. So there is, it could be tempting to go for a guy like an Almeida at 20, or even one of those higher priced leaders. But instead, I'm actually going to stick a little bit lower in the mix and see what that sort of brings up for me in terms of an overall combination for my team. So I can only pick one more leader, given I've got Riccatello and Vingegaard. And I like keeping Riccatello because of his climbability, and then potentially, from a GC perspective. Same is true for Fisher Black from a climbing perspective, and Armorai from a breakaway perspective. The two others that I'm going to pick up are Tejada and Fortunato. So I'm going to pop Tejada in here as a climber. And then I'm also going to pick up Fortunato, who should be just here as a leader. A little bit OCD about trying to keep these things together. So once I've got both of those guys in, I've actually still got 16 points left. I had been looking and thinking about bringing in Marco Frigo at 13, which would mean I'd still have 3 points left. But while we're here, we might as well have a little bit of a look using the within my budget piece as to whether there is anyone else that would be worth considering. I mean, Jay Vine at 16, not bad, but has he already done his piece? Potentially, in my mind. Who else have we got up around here? Marc Soler, possibly. Who else might we consider for the next week, knowing what we're looking at? Yeah, Verona, Sergio Higuita, good climbers, but I don't think they're looking as strong as Frigo. So we're going to go ahead and pick Frigo. And that'll set our team. It keeps us with 3 stars, so we've got a bit of flexibility here. Now, I have gone mid-category for a lot of these riders, so it's going to kind of bite me in the bum come week 3 when I'm trying to bring back in some of those jersey leaders. As I say, look, you want to have jersey leaders. It's good to have them, but you really want stage victories. So if you can get stage victories now in this mid-chunk, you might as well go ahead and do it. It's going to pay dividends in the long run, and then you can always do a multi-transfer to get some of those jersey leaders in for closing up to towards the end of the Vuelta. So those are my picks. Let's see how they go, and here's hoping I can get a couple victories out of these guys over the next couple of stages. That's it for today's episode. I will be picking Vingegaard as my stage winner for stage 10. Let's see, it could be a breakaway stage. I think it's going to be a GC sprint finish to the line. I think Vingegaard might just gap them before they get to a true sprint finish. So let's see. I think Rouleur's gone with Pidcock. There could be some other guys, Ciccone, etc., up there, but my pick's going to be Vingegaard. Also, keep an eye out. I will be posting some YouTube shorts for picks for the day. So for those of you that are trying to set your team in the lead up to each of the stages, keep an eye out for that. Just some quick picks in terms of some top 3 for the stage. So that's it for today. We'll see you in the next episode.